Are you somebody who is a natural leader, cares about others, and is focused on getting results, even if it requires taking a risk? If so, you will relate to the King of Wands. Please stay tuned and learn how to interpret this card when it shows up in a reading. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we'll be learning the tarot deck one card at a time. Today's card is the King of Wands. Most people find the court cards to be the most challenging part of the tarot deck, and I will do my best to demystify it here. I will be using the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. You'll find a link to the deck below, as well as to the many books that I used in my research. So let's get started. In simplistic terms, the king is the father figure of the royal court. He's married to the queen and they have 2 children. The page represents their youngest child, and the knight is their frat boy son who is off at college, finding his way in the world and trying not to get into too much trouble. In the Middle Ages in Europe, kings came to power through conquest, election, inheritance, or some other type of agreement. They ruled people and territories within defined borders. The king was the official leader. He had the ultimate authority and the final word. He had great power due to his position, and everybody knew it. Kings generally grew up knowing that this was their future, and so did the people in their kingdom, so they were very much groomed for the position. In tarot, the kings are considered to be wise, mature, stable, and have lots of masculine energy. I think the best example of a king is King Charles III in England. As a prince, Charles grew up knowing that he would be king once his mother passed away. She passed away in 2022 at the age of 96, and he'd waited his entire 73 years to be king. Next in line to the throne is his son, Prince William, followed by William's oldest child, Prince George. I found an interesting article in Harper's Bazaar from 2017 titled, "How Prince William is Training to Become King." You can find a link in the description box, and it is a great example of how kings are prepared to rule. At the time of the article, William was 35 years old, and the article describes how he started training at a young age under the guidance of his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. As a teenager, Queen Elizabeth would host William at Windsor Castle, where they would open the state boxes and she would guide him through the papers. This taught him about the Constitution. In 2009, when William was 27, he underwent an intensive 2-year training program to help him learn about the country. This included working with different departments in the British governments, private lessons from constitutional experts, and briefings with high-profile people such as the Prime Minister. As he's gotten older, Prince William has done a lot of charity work. In 2017, he spearheaded a mental health campaign called Heads Together, which put together a coalition of 8 mental health charity partners to change the conversation on mental health. Their goals included tackling stigma, raising awareness, and providing help for people with mental health problems. Another one of his projects, which started in June 2023, is called Homewards, which is a 5-year, locally led program that hopes to end homelessness. I hope this helps you to understand the kings. They are educated, mature, and prepared from close to birth to lead and to rule. One of the reasons that the court cards are challenging is that they can represent 3 things. The first is a person. Kings were considered to be mature men over the age of 40. Depending on your age, a king could represent your father, grandfather, adult son, romantic partner, boss, or any other mature man in your life. The second thing a king can represent is a part of yourself that has a masculine, take-charge energy. You're the first to volunteer and have no issue taking responsibility or telling people what to do. And the third thing a court card can represent is a situation that requires you to be a leader. For instance, you can't figure out why you're struggling to get things done at work, and a king card can indicate that it's time for you to stop hiding in your cubicle and take on a leadership role. So how do you know whether this king represents a real person, a part of yourself, or a situation that requires a new approach. First of all, go by the question. If it isn't clear, look at the surrounding cards and its position in a spread. Here's 2 other things to keep in mind when we discuss the court cards. First of all, don't give much credence to ages, gender, or physical characteristics. For instance, a king is traditionally considered to be a man over the age of 40. Does that mean that he doesn't represent your wife because she's 30 years old and female? No, it does not. Secondly, and more important, look at the energy from this card. Your level of maturity is not based on your age, and it can vary greatly in different areas of your life. We all know super mature people in their teens and very immature people in their 80s. You can also be mature in one area of your life, such as relationships, and totally reckless in another area, such as your finances. One of the easiest ways to understand the personality of each king is to understand the chart on the screen. Each member of the court card's personality is related to 2 elements. Here's a quick reminder of what each element means. Pentacles are connected to the element of earth. It's all about things in the material world, such as our bodies, homes, nature, or how we earn our living. These people are very stable. They work hard and enjoy traditions. Wands is connected to the element of fire. These people tend to be feisty, confident, enthusiastic, adventurous, extroverted, passionate, flashy, and high energy. These people make good athletes and good salespeople. Cups are connected to the element of water. This card is all about emotions. Cups people are gentle, loving, sensitive, nurturing, and feel things deeply. These people make good healers and social workers. Swords is connected to the element of air. Swords is all about communicating and expressing ourselves. This includes our thoughts about ourselves as well as our thoughts about the world around us. This encompasses intelligence, knowledge, truth, mental clarity, and our sense of right and wrong. These people make good lawyers and writers. Each of the court cards is made up of 2 elements. The first element is related to their rank. On the column down the left, you can see that all pages are related to earth, all knights are related to fire, all queens are related to water, and all kings are related to air. Each member of the court card also has a suit, and along the top of the chart you can see the 4 suits. Pentacles are related to earth, wands are related to fire, cups are related to water, and swords are related to air. As you can see on the chart, the King of Wands is a combination of the element of air and the element of fire. The rank of all the kings connects to air, which makes sense because kings are considered to be the wise, logical, intellectual communicators of the tarot deck. The King of Wands is also connected to the suit of wands, which is the element of fire. This means that he is creative, charismatic, and takes action to make things happen. So what happens when fire and air meet? The air actually fuels the fire and makes it more intense. The result is an intensely intelligent king with fast-moving thoughts who wants to get things done. He is a force to be reckoned with. In the King of Wands, we see a king sitting on his throne. The throne has a yellow backrest that extends outside the frame of the card. There are 2 lions on the backrest. In this card, we see lots of salamanders. On the backrest of the throne, we see a tapestry that shows 3 salamanders who have their tail in their mouths. We see a live salamander near the base of the king's throne. There are also salamanders on his cloak. He is wearing a gold crown with flames on it and a red cap underneath. He is wearing a red robe. Around his neck is a green collar. On top of the green collar, we see a necklace of a lion's head. He is also wearing green shoes. Like the crown, his green collar and the cuffs of his robe have flame motifs. The outside of his cloak is yellow with black salamanders. The inside of the cloak is yellow. His left hand is in a partial fist. His right hand is holding onto a wand with 4 buds, and the wand is touching the ground. He's facing left and looking outward. His throne is on a gray stone platform that is resting on a wooden floor. We see a desert in the background, and the sky is blue. When the King of Wands appears in a reading, it can represent someone you know or a part of yourself who is creative, enthusiastic, and happy to be the center of attention. It can represent someone who is a natural leader, cares about others, and is focused on getting results, even if it requires taking a risk. It can symbolize someone who is focused, determined, and hot-tempered. He is more interested in getting things done than following the rules. When the King of Wands shows up in a reading, it can mean that you have the ability to rise to a challenge and make things happen in your life too, even if it requires giving up some old beliefs or ideas. Let's talk about the symbolism of this card. In the King of Wands, we see a king sitting on his throne. The throne has a yellow backrest that extends outside the frame of the card. On the backrest of the throne is a tapestry that shows 3 salamanders who have their tail in their mouths. We also see a live salamander near the base of the king's throne. You might recall from previous cards that salamanders were believed to be fireproof. Here's what Pam Richards says about the salamander in her book, Understanding Tarot. Quote, "Fire is created from a single spark, creating a flame capable of jumping to burn and transforming what it touches, leaving this king a powerful force. He is driven to succeed and rivals all when it comes to passionate, driven ideas." In ancient times, the salamander was said to lay dormant in volcanoes, which when erupting would anger the animal, and so their lava tongues would lick up everything in their path. If this king sees an opportunity, he will grab it with both hands, as he is fast to grasp new concepts and will see possibilities others may miss. Unquote. There are salamanders on the back of his cloak. They also have tails in their mouths. We have seen the salamanders on the clothing of the Page and Knight of Wands. However, their tail was not yet touching their mouths. On the king's cloak, we can see that the energy is complete and the goals have been met. It can also represent rebirth. Johannes Feibig and Evelyn Berger, in their book The Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot, suggest that the salamanders on his cloak are also a warning against circular and repetitive arguments. Since this king is known for his fiery style of communication, I can see that being an issue. On the backrest, we see 2 lions, which are a symbol of courage and strength. The interesting thing is that the salamanders and the lions are black, as if they have been charred in a fire. I see this as a warning that this king's fiery nature has the ability to destroy even the strongest of creatures, the king of the jungle and a supposedly fireproof salamander. The backrest of his throne extends up to the sky, which indicates his connection with spirit. He is wearing a gold crown with flames on it, once again showing his fiery nature. Several authors have pointed out that he does not have red hair. Instead, this red headpiece is a cap of maintenance, something that was worn under the crown by all of the kings. I had never heard this expression and have linked to a Wikipedia article in the description. Its purpose was to keep his crown secure and comfortable on the head, so it is a cap to maintain the crown in place, which makes it a cap of maintenance. This cap was granted to people as a symbol of honor and special privilege. They were worn by kings of the United Kingdom before their coronation. As a fun fact, King Charles III actually did not wear his cap of maintenance on his coronation, but remained bareheaded until he was crowned. His cap was carried in the procession and put on at the same time as his crown. The King of Wands is wearing a red robe. Red is all about passion and another example of the fact that he is passionate and likely hot-headed. Around his neck is a green collar and he is also wearing green shoes. Green generally represents youth, adventure, and growth. In this case, it can represent that he is green, another expression for inexperience, or green with envy. On top of the green collar, we see a necklace of a lion's head. Like the other lions in this card, it represents courage and strength. The green collar and the cuffs of his robe all show a flame motif. His cloak is yellow with black salamanders. The inside of the cloak is yellow. Yellow, which is the color of the sun and also the color of flames, can represent power, optimism, confidence, creativity, and success. His left hand is in a partial fist. His right hand is holding onto a wand with 4 buds, and the wand is touching the ground. These buds can represent his ideas and also relate to card number 4 in the major arcana, which is the Emperor. Emperors were basically the king's boss, and all of the kings in the court cards represent parts of the emperor's personality. He's facing left and looking outward. He looks like he is ready for action. His throne is on a gray stone platform. The stone material shows his strength. Gray can represent neutrality as well as mystery and intensity. He can be fair but also intense. The throne appears to be resting on a wood platform, and according to Pam Richards, the back of the throne is also made of wood. She has made an interesting observation, and I quote, "Made from wood, it could burn. He could corrupt his power if all goes awry, but here he uses it to ground himself, a sign that he has his element firmly under control." Unquote. The landscape is the same as we've seen in the other members of the Wands court cards. It is desert and would be very hot. The sky is blue. Nothing is hidden from this king. When the King of Wands appears in an upright position, it can represent someone you know or a part of yourself who is creative, enthusiastic, and ready to take action. It can represent someone who has a commanding presence, is a natural leader, is seen as an authority figure, and is highly respected. He has the ability to get people fired up. On the downside, he can be seen as intense and intimidating. It can represent someone who is intelligent, honest, and makes fair decisions. He uses his intelligence to think about things and then takes bold action. It can represent someone who is very confident and does what is necessary to reach their goals, even things that others would consider unconventional or risky. He is not afraid to experiment or come up with out-of-the-box solutions. It can represent someone who has a lot of fiery energy. He is bold, creative, and ambitious. He is the kind of person who starts a business based on the spark of an idea and grows it into a huge enterprise. He is focused and determined. He can also be hot-tempered. It can represent someone who is happy to be the center of attention. He can be dramatic and theatrical. It can represent someone who trusts his gut and acts quickly. The King of Wands follows his beliefs and isn't swayed by the opinions of others. He is more interested in getting things done than in following the rules. He is not concerned when people don't like him or what he is doing. When the King of Wands shows up in a reading, it can mean that you have the ability to rise to a challenge and make things happen in your life too, even if it requires giving up some old beliefs or ideas. It can also indicate that good fortune is coming. Here's an example of someone who is the King of Wands from my life, and it is about someone who is smart, well-respected, and has a commanding presence, and it is about a local surgeon. I've gone to him for 2 major abdominal surgeries and also several procedures for which I've had to be anesthetized. For several of these, I have been the first case of the day, and it's been a pretty interesting experience. If you've never had surgery, here's what happens. You get to the hospital about 2 hours ahead of your surgery, and they put you in a pre-surgical area. You meet with a nurse and an anesthesiologist, get an IV started, and possibly have blood taken or some other tests. And then you wait. And you wait. And maybe you wait some more. At this point, the staff is pretty relaxed because their work is done and they can't do anything more until the surgeon shows up. So they're standing around, drinking their coffee, chatting about their weekend. And then the surgeon arrives and the whole atmosphere changes. If you ever saw the movie The Devil Wears Prada, where Meryl Streep plays the editor-in-chief of Runway magazine, it's just like that. The The surgeon breezes in and you can tell he is in charge. There is no more chatting and everybody suddenly gets very busy. You can literally feel the tension in the room. The first time I saw this happen, I thought, wow, the king has arrived. Surgeons are not known to be easygoing, and prior to surgery, they don't give you the vibe that they've got time to stop and chat. They are generally pretty intense and they move quickly. They are used to being in charge and calling the shots, and everybody understands their role. They are the top doctors in the hospital, their operating room is their kingdom, and they are a great example of the King of Wands. When the King of Wands appears in a reverse position, it could represent someone who is arrogant, intolerant, or impatient. It could symbolize someone who is a bully or abuses their power. They could be too strict, aggressive, domineering, or authoritarian. It could represent someone who is narrow-minded, cruel, heartless, or ruthless. It could symbolize someone who does not care about people and uses them only to get his way. It could represent someone who is full of self-doubt. They could be weak, selfish, or lazy. And finally, it could symbolize someone who doesn't want to lead and would prefer to work alone. Here's an example of the reverse King of Wands, and the best example I could think of is Vladimir Putin, who is president of Russia and a total dictator. He was first elected in 2000 and recently re-elected in 2024. He has amended the Constitution to allow him to legally stay in office until 2036, at which point he will be 83 years old. He is somebody who has abused his power, doesn't care about anyone other than himself, and fits the definition of cruel, heartless, and ruthless. I don't want to ruin your day by sharing the despicable things that he has done, so I'm going to quote a couple of paragraphs from an article by Pavel Benyakov that I've linked to in the description. Putin has been perfecting the machinery of electoral fraud to guarantee victory. Vote buying, ballot miscounting, distribution of pre-filled ballots, tampering with ballot boxes, voter monitoring and intimidation, and ballot stuffing are all methods that Putin's agents employ. He has also jailed political opponents, exiled others, and denied yet others the ability to challenge him in fair elections. In the most extreme cases, he has had his hands in the murder of his competitors. As someone who has studied Putin's regime for the past 25 years, I have watched him create a regime that rivals the repressive Soviet Union in both its brutality and corruption." Unquote. Here are some questions to help you connect with the King of Wands. Number 1, are you comfortable in a leadership role? Are you okay making unpopular decisions? Number 2, do you enjoy being the center of attention? Could you benefit from standing out more in a crowd? Number 3, are you more interested in getting things done or in following the rules? Are you willing to take risks to meet your goals? Number 4, do people consider you to be intimidating? Do you consider this to be a good or a bad thing? Is there a part of your life in which you need to take action and make some changes? How will you do this? I hope that this video has helped you to connect with the King of Wands. If it has, I'd appreciate it if you would like this video and also subscribe to my channel.